Hey everybody, Jay Wade back here with another Note Pause reaction. Thank y'all so much for joining me. I've got my mom back for something that is not a song this time, but something she's not heard, but I know she is just absolutely going to appreciate. And I want to hear her thoughts on it on the back end. How you doing, Mom?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much. You do know who Paul Harvey is, correct? Or
Yes.
was?
Yes.
Um, he, for those of you who may not know, he was a journalist, predominantly radio journalist. In 1965, yeah, guys, this is from 1965. He recorded this, and it's gonna blow your minds. If you know what's going on, it's gonna blow your minds, everybody. It blows mine every time I hear it. So we're gonna check this out, Mom, and then I want to get your thoughts on the other end. This is Paul Harvey. If I Were the Devil.
Okay.
If I were the devil. If I were the devil. If I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have a third of its real estate and four-fifths of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree. Thee. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing.
Yeah, well, how close to that is what's going on now, Mom?
Oh, wow. That's unbelievable. What a prophetic word.
Yeah,
I
yeah. I
mean,
mean, every point.
I was in high school when he recorded that, evidently, and it just sounds like today, big time.
Now, well, that's interesting you say that you were in high school when this was recorded because as he was saying a lot of this stuff, excuse me, I was thinking back to when I was a teenager and I was in high school and how I didn't recognize then that they were distilling those or not values, but they were distilling a lot of that into us in schools. And and at the time I was like, well, yeah, we're all, we're all individuals. We're all free to be able to do whatever we want, loose, it's cool. All that stuff. I was falling for it. As I've gotten older, I've gotten a bit wiser, but I'm curious. You say that came out, this was released when you were in high school. When you were in high school, in that mindset, thinking about what he just said, do you think that you would have recognized what he was saying as being legitimate, or do you think you would have been more of that teenage mindset of, no, this is a bit square and he's overreacting?
I probably would have been, he's overreacting. I mean, when I was a teenager, civil rights was going on. Kennedy was shot, but I didn't pay a lot of attention to what was going on around me. Lived a pretty sheltered life. So I probably would have said, he's a little far out there.
And I've asked you this before, but I believe you told me you were in class in school when you found out Kennedy was killed.
Yes, I can see it as plain as today. I was a freshman in English class, and then the communications was so less. Somebody just came in the classroom and told us what happened, and we were all shocked.
Man. Because, back then, how was our town that we lived in back then? Was it more of a Kennedy supporting kind of town, or were, as far as the politics and whatnot? Because by today's standards, I would say JFK was more of a conservative by today's standards, but by those standards, was our town more leaning toward Democrat or Republican?
It was probably more Republican, but it's being such a small town in farm country, I think we were all pretty sheltered from what was going on. We pretty much lived our daily lives and didn't give a lot of thought to all these political things now.
Yeah, and to be fair, it's still, to a point, it's still kind of like that for the most part around here. Like where we are, we're so in rural America that we just want to live our lives in peace and quiet, and just enjoy our family, our loved one, and our neighbor's company, and that's it. We don't want any of the hassle of anything else.
That's for sure. Nowadays it's so difficult. People should just be who they are and care about each other.
Yeah.
And not get into the politics of it all.
Yeah. But going back to the town and it being more Republican leaning, I know a lot of the people in that town, the people that you were in school with. I went to school with a lot of their kids, so
Yeah.
I know them. They're good people in that town. So I know that there was no like celebration of Kennedy's death, but like, how was it? How somber was it? Like, how not maybe sympathetic is the wrong word, but how was the mood overall by the community? Was it a sense of like, oh, well, let's just get on with it, or was there some sort of mourning that you could tell at least?
Oh, there was a definite mourning. There was shock and mourning. That was the president of all of us.
Yeah.
And the whole country was like in shock. And we stayed glued to the TV during the funeral and everything. It was just, everybody was shocked and in mourning.
Yeah.
It was a hard time for our country, because when your leader's gone, it's like, what now?
Yeah. And I just realized how sad it is that I just acknowledged that we're at a point where the president is only president of those who voted for him. And
Yeah.
that is sad, because like you said, he was, regardless of political parties or ideologies or anything, he was our president, and our president is our president of everyone, like you said. I mean, hey man, I'm not a fan of a lot of our presidents, and I'm not a fan of a lot of the stuff that's going on now. But dude, our president he is, like you said, our leader. He should be, I don't know. It's hard to talk about these days because there's just so much going on, and it's hard. It's a hard thing to talk about these days, which it was not like this when I was a teenager. Because I remember in the 90s, me and my friends would have open discussions, and we would have open discussions with our parents too.
Yeah, growing up, I mean, you talked about these things, especially during the elections, but there was never any hard feelings attached to it.
Yeah.
And you just respected each other's opinion and you voted the way you wanted to vote. But then, like you said, in the end, it was our president. So all of that discussion went aside and we moved forward.
Yeah. I mean, if anyone did any or even attempted to do any harm to our current president, I would be just as outraged as I would with any president that I ever voted for. It's just because it's it's a personal thing. It's a personal thing. Like, we cannot like what our leader's doing and we cannot agree with it. But the bottom line is that dude deserves to be treated with at least the base amount of respect. And then you get into the whole respect is, what is that base amount of respect?
Yeah, it's definitely changed, and it's sad the way it's changed.
Yeah, because I mean, I vividly remember in the 80s, there was never any political, I don't remember any political division as far as like Republican and Democrat versus kind of a thing. There was always the social commentary and the culture war stuff. But I mean, I never remember this polarizing split like we have now.
Yeah, most people are on the same page as far as what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's not that way.
Yeah. And speaking of the Kennedys, did you watch the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. town hall?
Yes.
Was very, very interesting.
It really was. I really was interested in what he had to say, and I agreed with a lot of what he had to say.
Yeah.
Some of it I didn't, but that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, your best friend in the world, whoever your best friend in the world, no matter who you are, you're still not going to agree on everything. So, why should you allow that to dictate whether or not someone could do a good job overall? Because that's how I look at voting. I look at, first of all, I'm looking at someone that will be the best for everyone. And not everyone is going to agree. Like, people who don't agree with my choice, they're going to think that I'm not making a decision that's best for them, but I try hard to. I have no problem at all sacrificing things that I want and things that I would like to receive, as long as I believe that overall everyone will be better for it, if that makes sense.
That's exactly right. I mean, it should be about what's best for us, not what's best for me.
Yeah. Yeah. But hopefully we can get there again. But that I recommend anybody out there, if you've not seen the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Town Hall, go check that out. It's on YouTube. It's very interesting. I want to hear more of what he has to say.
For sure.
Yep. But hey, thanks, Mom. This has been good. Good chat.
Yeah, thank you. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And thank you guys, everybody, for checking this out. If you're new here, consider hit subscribing, ring that bell, like, all that good stuff. If you're a returning viewer and you've not hit subscribe, please do so. That'd help out a lot. But until next time, everybody, thanks, Mom. And you guys out there, have a great and safe night.